When we're young, we dream without fear. We imagine lives drenched in freedom, filled with adventure and bursting with possibility. We believe we'll climb mountains, write books, fall in love like the movies, and change the world. And then life begins to unfold, not in neat little packages of perfection, but in messy, tangled moments of grief, joy, loss, and growth. Somewhere along the way, we stop running toward our dreams and start running from our fears. The courage we once wore so easily turns into carefulness, and the wide open world starts to feel smaller. But here's the truth we rarely say out loud. The dreams of youth don't vanish, they wait. They wait in the corners of our hearts in quiet moments when no one's watching, whispering, "It's not too late." The reality of old age is not failure or finality, it's clarity. It's knowing what matters. It's carrying the bruises and the blessings and still choosing to live fully. We don't need more time, we need more truth. And if we're brave enough to revisit those dreams and strong enough to let go of the shame that kept us from them, we'll realize that what we thought was the end is actually the invitation to begin again, with deeper wisdom, softer hearts, and a fierce kind of grace. When we are young, hope feels like oxygen. It's effortless, natural. We believe that anything is possible, and that belief carries us like wind beneath our wings. We picture ourselves standing on stages, changing lives, finding the kind of love that doesn't hurt. There's an innocence to our dreaming, a beautiful kind of boldness that doesn't ask for permission. We haven't tasted real heartbreak yet, not in the way that lingers. We haven't yet known the slow unraveling of things we thought were forever. Relationships, beliefs, even parts of ourselves. And so we hope freely, recklessly, with wide eyes and open hearts. But as the years move forward, life hands us things we didn't plan for. Illness, divorce, loss, betrayal, disappointment not just from others, but from the parts of ourselves we thought we could always count on. Somewhere along the way, hope becomes quieter, not gone, but buried, not broken, but bruised. It starts to feel safer to expect less, to dream smaller, to protect ourselves from the ache of unfulfilled longings. That's where age steps in, not as a thief, but as a teacher. It reminds us that we can't carry our pain by pretending it doesn't exist. We have to face it, feel it, name it, and that healing isn't forgetting or moving on, it's making peace with what we cannot change. Healing doesn't ask us to go back to who we were before the hurt. It invites us to become someone new, someone softer, wiser, and more grounded in truth. It asks us to hold our younger selves with tenderness and say, "You didn't know yet, and that's okay." Hope built our dreams, but healing rebuilds us. It turns the shattered pieces into something far more meaningful than we imagined. Not perfect, but whole. And it's through that slow, sometimes painful process that we begin to understand. When we're young, almost everything we do is quietly driven by a desire to be seen, liked, accepted. We shapeshift to fit in. We mute parts of ourselves that feel too much or not enough. We learn to read the room before we learn to read our own hearts. Somewhere along the way, approval becomes currency, and we spend ourselves trying to earn it. The clothes we wear, the careers we choose, the silence we keep. So much of it comes from a fear that if we showed who we really are, it wouldn't be enough. We don't just chase dreams, we chase validation wrapped in the disguise of ambition. And the terrifying part, sometimes we get it. The praise, the recognition, the applause. But instead of fulfillment, we feel emptier. Because deep down, we know we built something beautiful on a foundation that isn't real. But aging is a slow unlearning of that performance. It's the quiet realization that approval doesn't equal peace, that being liked by everyone often comes at the cost of being known by anyone, including ourselves. The older we get, the less energy we have for pretending, for nodding when we want to speak, for smiling when we want to cry, for staying when everything in us says go. Age hands us something far more valuable than popularity: perspective. We start choosing truth even when it's uncomfortable. We learn to sit in rooms and no longer care who notices us, as long as we are aligned with our values. We trade applause for authenticity. And in that sacred trade-off, we begin to hear our own voice again. Not the loud, performative one we trained for acceptance, but the quiet, steady voice that has always known the way. The one that tells us when we're young, failure feels like the end. It feels loud and public and permanent. One mistake, one misstep, and we think we've ruined everything. We equate our worth with our outcomes, grades, jobs, relationships, titles. If we don't succeed, we believe we're not enough. And what makes it even harder is that we're often surrounded by highlight reels. Friends who seem to be winning, families that expect nothing but perfection, a culture that glorifies hustle and hides the human behind the performance. So we build our identity around not messing up, around being impressive, around avoiding any cracks that might reveal we're struggling. But life doesn't let us bypass failure. It keeps showing up not to shame us, but to shape us. And as we grow older, we start to see failure differently, not as a reflection of who we are, but as a reflection of who we're becoming. We begin to notice that our most painful chapters often become the most powerful ones, that the job we lost taught us how to build something better, that the relationship that broke us open also made room for us to come home to ourselves, that falling short didn't ruin us, it revealed us. Failure teaches us what success never could: humility, empathy, resilience. It asks us to release control, to embrace uncertainty, to trust in the wisdom of something greater than our own plans. It forces us to reckon with the stories we tell ourselves when things don't go our way, and to rewrite those stories with courage and compassion. And over time, we stop asking, "What did I lose?" and start asking, "What did I learn?" Because the truth is, we're not defined by how many times we fall. We're defined by what we choose to carry with us when we rise. And as we begin to see failure not as a scar, but as a signature of growth, we start to understand when we're young, it's easy to believe the world is waiting for us, that someday the doors will swing open, the path will light up, and our dreams will just happen. We think if we're good enough, patient enough, talented enough, the universe will reward us. We carry this quiet expectation that success will arrive like a gift, that love will find us effortlessly, that life will work out if we just stay hopeful. But then reality introduces itself not as a punishment, but as a mirror. And we learn that the world doesn't bend to our potential. It doesn't move for our dreams. It moves for our effort. We experience detours and delays, rejection letters, heartbreaks, missed opportunities, not because we're undeserving, but because dreaming alone was never meant to be the whole journey. Somewhere between youthful entitlement and adult surrender, we realize no one is coming to save us. No one is handing us the life we imagined. And that moment, though heavy, is freeing. Because if the world doesn't owe us a dream, then we're no longer waiting. We start building from scratch with bruised knuckles, tired hearts, and imperfect plans. We stop asking for permission and start asking ourselves what matters most. We owe ourselves a chance, not a perfect path, not a guaranteed outcome, but the dignity of trying, of saying yes to ourselves when the world says no, of getting up every day and putting our hands on the life we want, even when it's messy and uncertain. That's the shift, from expectation to ownership, from fantasy to faith. And when we finally stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing ourselves, we begin to see that we like to believe that with age comes independence, emotional immunity, that eventually we stop needing affirmation, that love becomes less essential. But the truth is, no matter how old we get, no matter how many degrees we earn, how many children we raise, how many battles we survive, there's still a part of us that just wants to be held. Underneath the armor we've built to protect ourselves, there's still that soft place that longs to hear, "You matter. You're enough. I see you." From inside of when we're young, we chase love like it's the finish line. We think if someone chooses us, we'll finally be okay. But that kind of love is often wrapped in performance. We try to earn it. We twist ourselves to be lovable. We confuse being needed with being valued. And it works until it doesn't, because real love, the kind that sees us in our rawness and doesn't run, isn't born from perfection, it's born from presence. As we grow older, we realize that love isn't something we chase, it's something we allow. It's not loud and dramatic, it's quiet, consistent. It shows up in the way someone remembers how you take your coffee, in the friend who checks in not because you ask, but because they just felt something went right. In the moment someone looks at you not to judge or fix, but simply to witness your truth without flinching. We never outgrow the ache to belong. And if we're brave enough to take off the mask, to say, "This is me, and I hope you can love me not despite it, but because of it," we give others permission to do the same. In a world that rewards pretending, real love is revolutionary. And once we've tasted it, we begin to understand. In our younger years, we're taught, often without words, that strength means silence, that if you're hurting, you hide it, that if you're scared, you pretend you're not, that emotions make you fragile and asking for help makes you a burden. So we learn to armor up. We push through, we swallow our grief, our shame, our questions, and we wear resilience like a mask instead of a muscle. We confuse numbness for maturity, disconnection for self-retreat. Beyond this work, I'll listen. And all the while, a voice inside us whispers, "This hurts, I don't want to carry this alone." But we silence that voice, thinking it's weak. And then somewhere along the journey, maybe after a breakdown, maybe in the quiet of a sleepless night, we realize that the cost of pretending is far too high. That strength isn't about how well we hide the pain, but how deeply we're willing to feel it. That courage isn't in the hiding, it's in the revealing. We begin to understand that vulnerability isn't the opposite of strength, it is strength. The kind that's rooted in truth. The kind that says, "I'm hurting, but I'm here. I'm scared, but I'm staying open." And in those moments of raw honesty, we stop judging the parts of us that shake. We stop calling our sensitivity a flaw. We begin to see that the most powerful people are not the ones who never cry, but the ones who cry and keep showing up anyway. The ones who've been cracked open by life and still choose to love, to give, to believe. We stop needing to prove our worth by being invulnerable, and instead we lean into connection, the kind that heals, not hide. Because strength isn't what we thought it was, it's not perfection, it's presence. It's the willingness to say, "This is hard, but I won't run." And when we begin to see our softness as sacred instead of shameful, we start to understand. We grow up believing that time is the enemy, that if we don't achieve our dreams by a certain age, we've missed our chance. That dreams have an expiration date, and if we're not fast enough, young enough, brave enough in our 20s or 30s, then we're disqualified. So we rush, we panic, we compare ourselves to timelines that were never meant to be ours. And when life doesn't unfold the way we thought it would, when the relationship ends, the career stalls, the loss comes, we start to believe it's too late, that we are too late. But that's not the truth. Time doesn't kill dreams. Fear does. Fear of being judged, fear of starting over, fear of failing again, fear of looking foolish. So we begin to shrink our lives, not because we lack desire, but because we've made fear our compass. We tell ourselves the dream is too big, too unrealistic, too selfish. We bury it under responsibilities and distractions. We numb the longing because it hurts to want something we're afraid we'll never have. But then something sacred happens with age. We stop caring so much about appearances, about approval, about the imagined rules. We begin to value realness over perfection, peace over performance. We look around and see people living lives they settled for, and we wonder if maybe, just maybe, there's still time to choose differently. Not recklessly, but intentionally. Not with desperation, but with quiet defiance. We begin to understand that the real tragedy isn't dreaming too late, it's never daring to dream again. And in that space, something powerful stirs. We realize that our dreams don't vanish. They wait. They evolve. They deepen. They mature with us. And when we're finally brave enough to reach for them, not as the person we once were, but as the person we've become, we begin to feel that strange, sacred spark again. That inner whisper that says, at some point we stop counting the trophies, the milestones, the outward signs of success, not because they don't matter, but because we realize they were never the point. What begins to echo louder than anything else is the question, was I true to myself? Not did I win, or did I impress them, or did I live the life they expected of me, but was I honest? Did I show up as the person I was meant to be, not just the one I thought I had to be to survive? When we're young, we chase doing. We fill our calendars, we climb ladders, we check boxes. We think identity is built through effort. But as the years pass, we begin to feel the quiet weight of all the masks we wore, the rooms we stayed in too long, the words we didn't say. And what aches the most isn't failure, it's self-abandonment. It's realizing we were there for everyone else, but not for ourselves. It's recognizing that we made ourselves small to keep the peace, to be loved, to be safe. And yet, this realization isn't meant to break us. It's meant to wake us. Because the most beautiful part of aging is not the wisdom, it's the return to self, to the version of us that existed before the world told us who to be, before we learned to apologize for our light. We come back, not to the past, but to the truth we've carried all along. That who we are at our most honest is not too much, not too late, not lost, just waiting for us to choose it again. So when we look back, not at what we did, but at how we lived, we begin to understand that legacy isn't built by accomplishments, it's built by alignment, by moments of presence, by the courage to say, this is me, without the filter, without the armor. And maybe the most sacred gift we can give ourselves, especially when time feels short, isn't chasing more. As we stand at the crossroads of youth and age, we begin to see the truth in what we've often denied. That life isn't a destination, it's a journey. A series of moments where we grow, break, rebuild, and rediscover who we are. Youth is a time for dreaming, for boldness, for seeking. But age is the time for becoming. It is the time for knowing that we're not here to prove anything to anyone. We're here to be fully ourselves, unapologetically. We've tried so many versions of who we thought we should be, but in the end, the most powerful version of us is the one that is real, messy, scarred, and free. With every wrinkle, every gray hair, every mistake, every regret, we become more of who we were always meant to be. Not perfect, but whole. Not unscathed, but wise. And as we shed the layers